Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Salamun alaikum everyone. I hope that you are keeping well, and I hope inshallah you have been enjoying and making the most out of the night of Qadr. It's a very important time. We can gain so much from this beautiful time, and inshallah tonight we'll try to reflect on certain topics which they said are very beneficial, because they said the most important thing on a night like this is to reflect. And so inshallah together we will have some reflections. And also please, I have a request from everyone, right? What I'm going to be sharing is the result of reflection and things I've learned from scholars, teachers, the A'imah Qur'an, and I would like to ask you also to reflect about them, right? For example, if you hear something, spend a few minutes, at least a few minutes, thinking about it, because sometimes I say something, it may be something you haven't heard before, etc. So you may want to quickly ask a question, etc. Perfect, ask questions, it's beautiful, but I'm saying think about it first, because the main thing is reflection. Reflect on whatever I say, and then of course if you have questions, ala rasi, we can discuss. And actually I have received some questions. I'll try to address them tonight as well. Also, I'm going to give you a glad tidings. Today we have a very special guest, the person from whom I learned the lesson of spirituality and love. And inshallah, in the second part of tonight, she would give a lecture, and inshallah we can all benefit. So that's also something to look forward to, inshallah. And just if you could let me know, how is the voice? Is my voice clear? And then inshallah I can start. So if you could just send a message and let me know what is the voice. If the voice is clear, then inshallah I can start, and I would just afterwards turn off the comment section, so inshallah there wouldn't be distracting. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Alhamdulillah, I'm receiving the thumbs up. Bless everyone. Salamun alaikum to everyone. Thank you so much. It's an honor, honestly, for me, a huge pleasure that I get this opportunity to talk and to discuss with you beautiful souls. Thank you so much. You have honored me. You have, your place is here on top of my head. That's a, I don't know, Persian phrase. I don't know if it makes sense in English or not. I'm just saying how precious you are, how much I appreciate the time you are giving, the fact that you sit. And I saw some people, they're watching with their families. I am grateful to every single one of you, and know that I appreciate the time you're spending here, and I try really hard. I try my best to make sure the time you're spending is, at least you gain something beautiful out of it. So with that being said, let me just close the comment section, so inshallah it wouldn't create distractions, and we can begin. So, all right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So tonight I want to talk about 2-3 things. I'm going to start by this idea that there are certain things in religion which we need to think about, reflect, to have a better understanding, right? The Qur'an itself says that there are gems here that only, for example, ar-rasikhuna fil ilm, those who spend time, those who, give from their life, spend time here, or ulul albab, it would be available to them. Or for example, in another verse we have in Surah Sad, we have revealed these verses so that you think about it, right? So a lot of the verses in the Quran, and the same goes with ahadith, you can benefit from them if you reflect on them. Of course, there's a level of understanding which is open to everyone. Anyone who can understand Arabic or translation, they can read, benefit. Oh, there's a God, there's a creator. That creator is merciful. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Actions have consequences. But there's a deeper level, which the Quran itself says is available to those who think. Ulul albab ar-rasikhuna fil ilm. And this doesn't mean a certain class of people. Not at all. It's to everyone, every single one of us. And God has given us what it takes. This thing we have here, or this thing we have here, the heart, the mind, we can use them, live with these verses, sit with them, and gain the most outcome from them. So that's one of the things, inshallah, I'll try to talk about. Then I will talk about why is it that we are not feeling well? Why is it that we don't feel connected to God? Why is it that we're suffering? And I'll try to talk about healing, link it to God's love, and then inshallah afterwards, Dr. Haydarpur, my life, my teacher, and alhamdulillah, my mother, Sheikh Mother, will come, the person from whom I've learned everything. She will come and talk to us about God's love. How can we explain it? And inshallah, she does it a million times better than me. So that would be, inshallah, the process for tonight. So let me start by this. We said the first thing we're going to talk about, with examples of course, is this idea that there are parts of religion that you have to spend time with to understand, to fully grasp. If you remember, for example, last session, the second night of Qadr, we spent almost hour and a half talking about one line from a dua. One line from a dua, right? إلهي ليس لي حول فأنتقل به عن معصيتك إلا في وقت أغثني لمحبتك. We spent hour and a half to just understand this. And then you realize, oh, this is what it means. These are the gems inside it, the practicality of it. Otherwise, it's just something we read. And the Qur'an is the same. And don't think this is something very strange or very serious. No. For example, even those who want to understand even a book like Shakespeare's books, right? Haven't you seen that there are people who become expert in it? Sometimes they discuss one line, hours. When you go to philosophy, it's the same. I don't know how many of you are familiar, for example, with the works of Nietzsche, right? I at least saw a lecture, the scholar talking 1 hour about one line from Nietzsche's book. So how is it that we think when it comes to Quran, it's like you just read it and immediately go to the deepest layers, right? No, you can understand the surface level. Of course, a level of it is available to everyone, definitely. I'm not saying that. But there are things there which you have to look at all the verses together. You have to have a holistic understanding, spend time with it, reflect on it. And of course, I said every single person can do this. This is not exclusive, for example, only to, I don't know, a group of people that, I'm not trying to make this understanding exclusive, not at all. It's for every single person. But as long as they spend time, right? And this is the same, Quran, Hadith, everything. And inshallah, tonight I want to give you a few examples of this to show that how much it would damage us if we don't do this. If we just see a verse, we don't look at its relation with other verses, we don't think about it, the hadiths, everything. If you just take a hadith and you want to live your life according to that. And unfortunately, a lot of the times, the translations are also sometimes wrong. When it came from Arabic to English, so much was missed. So you take one hadith, you want to do your life with it, you don't think about it, you don't look at it in relation with Quran, with other verses, and it causes problems. One of these things is the concept of Khawf and Raja, right? When I say to people that God is loving, you should never fear God, they say, no. We have this concept called Khawf and Raja. You ask them, okay, what is this Khawf and Raja? See, again, I'm not saying there is no Khawf and Raja. I'm saying the understanding is wrong, right? We haven't spent enough time with it. The first thing that came to our mind, the first thing someone said, we accepted it. Now I'll try to talk about it and you tell me if you accept it or not. And you'll see that it doesn't need an exclusive group, a certain level of scholars to tell you. No, you yourself, with your own thinking, you will see if this is correct or not, right? You don't need to believe me at all. I'll just present my thoughts. You see, you think about it. If it makes sense to you, you can accept. If it doesn't make sense to you, perfect, no problem, right? There is absolutely no problem. Now, you ask them, what is this Khawf and Raja, right? They say, well, Khawf means you have to fear that God would punish you, God would send you to hell. And Raja is that you are, for example, looking forward that, yeah, maybe I'll go to heaven. Maybe they'll take me to heaven. And then they say a person has to be in these two states. Either you fear hell, or you have hope, right? Or you have greed that you'll go to heaven. So you always have to be in this state, right? First of all, if someone just looks at this and thinks, okay, what do you mean I have to be in the middle? So do I wake up one day and say, okay, today is, for example, my Khawfi day. Today, let's be scared of hell. Tomorrow I wake up and say, this is my Raja'i day. Do you have a, can you fragment your heart, tell one part of it, you be scared, you be hopeful? How does one do that? What is the percentage, right? So sometimes when you even think about it, you see that it's not practical. How can I do that? Like, if one day I'm feeling scared, I would say today I have to be hopeful. If one day I'm hopeful, that's one thing. Second thing, you're telling me I have to live my life as a mu'min, fearing hell and hoping for heaven, when the person we all call Amir al-Mu'minan, the leader of the faithful, the leader of the believers, he says that I don't worship God fearing hell, and I don't worship God because of greed for heaven. I worship God because I found God worthy of worship. So how can you tell me that as a mu'min, I have to be between two states, that the leader of the mu'minin, the commander of the mu'minin, of the believers, told me he's not either of them, but he's a higher level. He worships God, not fear of hell, not hope in heaven, but only because he finds God worthy, right? How can you reconcile these two together? You're telling me a mu'min has to be like this, but at the same time you believe the leader of all the mu'mineen, he himself said, I am not like that, so why should I be like that? Do I want to be who do I want to follow? Now, so what is this Khawf and Raja? Inshallah, I'll explain a little bit. It has nothing to do with fearing. See, Imam Ali says it's beautiful. Imam Ali, that poem which is attributed to him, right? أَتَزْعَمُ أَنَّكَ جَرْمٌ صَغِيرٌ وَفِيكَ انْطَوَى الْعَالَمُ الْأَكْبَرُ. Imam Ali, even if this poem is not from Imam Ali, a lot of people say it's attributed to him, but his life shows, right? He was a person who had understood the value of a human being. It says, Alamul Akbar, the greater universe, the soul that God has given to me. Imam Ali says, it's so precious. The whole fear of hell, nothing there is something that I would, for example, prostrate because of that. I'm greater. I'm greater than all of hell. I'm greater than all of heaven. The only reality that is worthy of my worship, Imam Ali says, is God. Right? Imam Ali says, I don't worship God out of fear of hell. No, I am bigger than hell. And I don't worship God hoping for heaven. I'm bigger than heaven. Ana alamul akbaru. Imam Ali says, the soul God has given me is bigger than heaven and hell. The only time this soul would feel humble is in front of its creator. Ibadatul ahrar. Right? And of course, it's not that these are wrong. These are levels. But why do you want to get stuck in the lower levels? When the leader of mu'mineen says, this is the highest level I'm doing, come here. How long do we want to stay in these levels? Right? Now, this is why I said when you go to the Qur'an, when you go to the school of Prophet, to the A'imah, you see that the value of a human soul is so high to them, so high, incredibly high. Imam Ali says, I am bigger than heaven and hell. And then when Imam Ali says to us that these are three types of worship, why did he tell us this? Is he bragging? No, why would he brag? He's telling us so that we grow up as well. How long do we want to stay in first grade, second grade? Imam says, come on, graduate from them already. Come join us in these highest classes, right? So I'll explain, inshallah, if we have time, then what does it mean after you graduate from all of these lessons to then have Khawf and Raja? But before that, let me also ask you another question, because sometimes when I say God is loving, when I say, for example, worship God because it's enjoyable, because it's beautiful, because you love God. And then some people say, oh, what? So you're saying that God is loving, so I can go and do whatever I want? Really? Is that what I'm saying? And is that what you would do? So let's just, if you're saying you do everything for fear of hell and hope of heaven, let's just imagine, I'm not saying this, let's just imagine there's no heaven and hell. Would you go and cheat on your partner? Is the only reason you're not cheating the idea that there's a hell? Can you look into your wife's eyes and tell her that? Or to your husband's eyes, the only reason I'm not doing this, I'm not cheating, is that I'm fearing of hell? I'm not judging that if someone's like that, at least they're controlling themselves. But is that the level we want to stay in? Is the reason I'm not stealing, is the reason I'm not breaking heart because I'm fearing hell? Why don't I want to go to higher levels? Well, bless anyone who at least controls themselves like that. But don't you want to go higher? Don't you want to be able to tell your partner that, you know what, even if there was no consequence, I would still try my best not to hurt you, not to break your heart? You know, think about what are the things we say. The things we say have implications. And then you see, and because we haven't thought about this, our worship becomes disrespectful to God. Some people say if you tell people that God loves them, then they'll stop praying. Really? So now, you only pray because you're scared? Really? You know, you even sometimes listen and people say that, I can't wait to go to heaven, so I don't need to pray anymore, so I don't need to fast anymore. What happened to us? The only reason do you know what we're saying like that to God? Like, God, you created me and all of that, you're beautiful, etc., etc. But the only reason I come talk to you is because I'm scared something may happen to me. As soon as I'm sure nothing would happen, I'll let go. This is what we're saying. This is what we're saying. This is the implication of our thoughts. Can we really say that on a night like this? On a night like night of Qadr? Can we say that to God? God, the only reason I'm praying is because if I don't, something would happen? That's disrespectful to God. But why did this happen to us? Because we're not enjoying our worship. You see? Our whole idea was that, yes, there's a heaven, there's a hell. Do certain things so you don't go to hell. Do certain things so you go to heaven. They never told us it's beautiful, you can enjoy this. This is for your own sake. God didn't have a problem. God doesn't need us. If He told us to do this, it's for our own benefit. But the way we've understood it is that as soon as I realize there's no consequence, I'm out. This is the most disrespect we can show God, right? So tonight I'll try to talk about this. How can we enjoy worship? Imam Ali says, forget about this and that. Worship God because He is worthy of worship. And unfortunately, because we never cared about this, we haven't thought about it. Okay, how can I find God worthy of worship? How can I enjoy? How can this change my life? We've never thought about this. And that's why right now we are not feeling well, right? We're not feeling well. We're really suffering. You know, sorry, just 1 second. Yes, we're not really enjoying our lives. We feel heartbreaks, we feel suffering, we feel lonely, we feel, scared sometimes, we feel disconnected, we feel unappreciated, we feel unheard, we're worried about future, we're worried about this, we're worried about that. And in all of this, we don't have any connection, anyone that makes us feel good. We haven't connected to God, so we don't feel good. There's no energy coming. And then there's this verse in the Qur'an, مَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا. Whoever doesn't remember me, he or she will have a difficult life. ضَنْكًا, tight. Life feels tight. Isn't that the way sometimes we feel? Like it's just like, oh my God, it's so tight. I feel so worried. My soul can barely breathe. Right? So we have this, but even when it comes to this verse, sometimes the way they translate, the way they explain it, Again, again, very terrible, very poorly done. They say God will look and say, if you don't remember me, I'll make your life difficult. It's not this. It's not this. Where did God say that? Why are you doing this to yourself? No. وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا. It's not like this. You know, one of the scholars mentioned a beautiful example that explains this. He said once when he was very young, imagine 4 or 5 years old, his mother took her to a shopping mall which he really loved, right? He said, whenever I went to this shopping mall, I felt like it's heaven. It was exciting, so many different shops, colorful, right? So he was enjoying it. And then he said, I went to this shopping mall once with my mother, and then my mother said, you know what? You know what? For example, Muhammad, hold my hand, because if you lose my hand, you'll get lost, you'll get worried. This place, which is like heaven to you, it would feel like hell, right? Because you get worried, where's mommy? The same place that you love, if you look around and you can't find me, you'll just see strangers, the same place would feel terrible. So hold my hand, or the same place you feel it's heaven would become hell to you, right? It's not that if you leave my hand, I will make it hell for you. No. It's saying, see, now you have my support, you have my love, you feel calm. But if you let go, if you don't have access to me, the same shopping mall which you love, you look around, you just see strangers, you feel abandoned, you feel lonely, you feel scared. That is what God's saying. He's saying, hold on to my hand. This place would feel like heaven. But if you let go, without me, you may feel lonely. You look around, just see strangers. No one understands you. No one hears you. Even sometimes your loved ones, you talk, but they don't get it fully. So hold on to my hand. Don't let go. وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا. Right? Now, like, how else could God say that the reason I'm here, the reason I'm telling you all of this, to remember me, is for your own sake? Like the mother who told the child, you know what? I'm here for you. I'm here for you. If I'm telling you hold my hand, it's because of you. Nothing happens to me. I know this shopping mall. It's no big deal for me. I'll go home. But you would feel lost, right? But unfortunately, that's not how we feel towards God. Because whenever we want to go towards God, they say, you know what? If you don't do this, there would be fear of hell. If you don't do this, there would be that. Or they say, I don't know, even if they don't say these things, they haven't taught us how to love God, how to appreciate God, how to feel God's hand holding on to us. And how do we know we don't have this? Because the second part of the verse is true about us. It said, فَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا. Life becomes tough. The world, with all its greatness, feels so narrow. Right? Don't we feel that? Don't we feel like sometimes life is too difficult? It's narrow? Well, if we already feel that, it means that we haven't had the first part. Right? So, sorry, they just told me the mic is lower. I brought it up, Zahrajan. If it's good, let me know. So, see, the reason we feel life is suffocating, life is difficult, all of this is that we have lost that. And of course, before I try to explain this further, I have to say that God, you know, even if we let go of God's hand, we can never fully let go. This is something which we have to have in mind, right? The relationship between us and God will never be fully cut. You know, in the example we said, the mom who took her child to the shopping mall. Yes, with your mom's hand, you can let go and then you'll feel lost. With God, it would never be fully cut. Because even if you let go, God will still hold on, you know? So it makes it, you know, what is it called? Weaker, but it never be fully caught. And God would keep reminding you, helping you, so that you hold on to his hand, metaphorically, obviously. So today I want to talk a little bit about this, right? The idea that God is beautiful. If we go towards God, it would make our life feel better. We would no longer be like this to say that, you know what, the only reason I'm praying is that I have to. As soon as I go to heaven, I'm going to stop. Imagine how many of us are like that. As soon as I go to heaven, no more fasting. That means that there's nothing wrong with you. It's just that no one showed you prayer can be beautiful. You prayed 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and your life was still ma'ishatan dhanka. It was still tight. It was still full of fear. It was still full of stress. It's full of anxiety. You feel abandoned with or without prayer. No one taught us how to use prayer to connect to God. Right? So then the person obviously says, why should I do this? I'm just doing it because I have to. But Imam Ali says, no, go and try and figure out how to enjoy this. Right? And so, inshallah, we'll talk about this. Let me just mention another introduction and then we'll go to the second discussion. Do you remember how Imam Ali said, I'm not worshipping God out of fear of hell? And also I don't worship God out of, greed for heaven. So it's something I don't like, something I like, right? This is the deepest thing you can imagine. If we come to our life, we realize that this idea that there are certain things we don't like and certain things we like, and we try to avoid the things we don't like, and we try to get to the things we like, this is the source of all of our suffering. This is why we don't feel good. In last session I said, Imam Ali said, a mu'min is da'iman nishatah. A mu'min should always feel good. The Prophet always felt good. It's not that life is easy. No, life can be uncomfortable. The worst things happen to the Prophet. He lost his father, he lost his mother, he lost his grandfather, his uncle, his wife. Life can be difficult, but you can still keep your peace, right? He was in such a great mood, such a great peace, that he could even radiate this, give it to others, right? He's in the mosque, a child, for example, and he's praying, a child come on top of him. He doesn't get worried. He's feeling so great. He doesn't get angry. He doesn't get grumpy. He's feeling amazing inside. That connection with God, if it's real, it's so amazing. You feel great no matter what happens. Child comes on top of you. You can radiate that good feeling. How many stories do I have to tell you of this, right? And there was even this story which, it's crazy. Before, the mosques were not like this. It's not like there was, for example, a beautiful building, everything, and then, beautiful walls, roof. No, the mosque at the time of Prophet was very simple. A few marks they put, very simple, very simple. No roof, very simple. So they say once they were in the mosque and someone comes and he didn't know, poor thing. He didn't know what's going on. He came to the mosque and started releasing himself. Right? He urinated in the mosque. Everyone around the Prophet, you're like, oh my God, should we go in the mosque? How dare you? Try to go in. Prophet said, no. Why? Why would you want to do that? He doesn't know. He's come here. It's so crazy. See, this person feels so amazing inside, so peaceful, no worry, that he even says, don't even make him scared. Let him be comfortable while he's doing whatever he's doing. Don't create stress for him. Let him do whatever he wants peacefully. See, there's so much peace inside that it radiates to others as well, even to that level. Imagine what would we do if that had happened to us. Like we're praying inside, maybe the child takes the turban or removes the prayer mat. But Prophet feels so amazing inside that then gives this beautiful feeling outside as well. We have this in other stories as well. One of the companions of Imam Ali, he's passing, someone throws a stone at him, small stone, right? He feels so good inside, he doesn't even turn around to see who he did it, Like why should I bother turn around? I feel great inside, right? This is why I'm saying why we should worship. This is the result of a true worship, a worship which is done for God. Person feels so amazing inside. Oh, you heard the stone? Oh, I'm feeling great. Like, he doesn't even turn around to look. He did it. Imagine that. And it's amazing because we even have a hadith from Imam Ali, and who says, "Man lam yataghafal an kathir al-umur تنغصت عيشه. The person who doesn't have this ability to let go of so many things, his life would be difficult, annoying. Someone says something offensive to me, I think about it for one whole day, ruins my day. Someone leaves a negative comment on my post, half an hour ruin. Someone says something to me in grocery store, half an hour ruin. In traffic, someone pulls in front of me and goes slow or does something, that day ruined, right? Where easily life becomes full of suffering. But it doesn't have to be like this. Why is it like this? Because the worship we do is not the worship we have to be doing. It's the lowest level. This is why Imam Ali says, only God is worthy of worship, and I only worship Him because of that. There's so much there when you go towards God. There's so much peace, so much beauty. Everything else loses its meaning, right? So, let's go back to this. Why do we don't have this? Why are we suffering? And we are. We're not feeling good. We don't have that peace that Prophet had, Imam Ali had. Or even in some of the stories of the A'imah, the person comes and starts swearing at Imam. Not just Imam, but his mother. And then the Imam doesn't lose his cool. He's feeling so amazing inside. He's like, well, that thing you said about my mother, you know, if it's true, then wrong. If it's wrong, then why did you say, may God forgive you? It's so relaxed. So much great feeling inside, it radiates out. This is what worship should be like. When you go to worship to God, connection to God, you should feel so amazing. You come back, just love and peace comes out of you. Everyone feels it. Yes, Sheikh Jawad has prayed because now there's so much peace and joy coming out of him, right? This is why a lot of scholars say, if you want your children to pray, well, first you pray well yourself. Because if, for example, little Muhsin or little Zahra or little, I don't know, Yusuf sees that mommy is praying, but she came no difference. Like, well, it seems like this prayer doesn't have that much outcome. But if little Yusuf sees that, oh, mommy went and prayed or daddy went and prayed, now look at daddy. So peaceful, so beautiful, so happy, so joyful. Be like, I want to do what daddy's doing. Right? Now, why don't we have this? Why is it that we're suffering? Why is it that our whole life we try to feel okay, right? You know, if you look at someone who's looking after water, what do you know about this person immediately? Even if you don't know anything about their life, as soon as you see there's a person looking for water, you know they're thirsty, right? Now, if you see that there are people whose their whole life they're trying to feel okay, you immediately know they're not okay. We're not okay. We're suffering. We have that ma'ishatan dhanka. We feel lonely, stressed, abandoned, all sorts of things. And the thing is, we are so used to it, we don't even know how much we're suffering. You know, I don't know if you've noticed this or not. Sometimes when there's a noise in the room, you become so used to it, you don't even realize that there's this noise. As soon as it gets caught, you're like, oh my God, this noise was there the whole time. The same is with us. The day we go inside, we find our true self, we get connected to God, like, oh my God, all this time, I was carrying so much burden. Life could be this easy and I was going through that. Yeah, this is it. Why does this happen to us? Imam Ali says, if you fear something and you like something, this is the source of suffering, preference, right? Because what do we do in life? There are certain things that happen around us, right? As soon as something happens which we don't like and we can't handle, we keep it inside. And then something, for example, which was good, which we liked, it didn't happen, we get so much hurt. We keep that inside as well, right? It becomes a kind of an obsession, a complex. We keep, anytime someone bullied us, we couldn't handle it. We keep it here. Something we liked didn't happen. We keep it here. So slowly, what happens is that we try to design our life in a way that the things we want happen more and the things we don't want happen less. So our whole goal in life becomes to reach the things we call good, we like, and the things we call bad, we don't like. This becomes the whole goal of our life. If I don't like someone talking to me this way, because it makes me feel upset, offended, I'll try to leave them out of my life. If I get stressed, for example, when I talk to my landlord and I can't handle the stress, I'm like, you know what, I have to get a job, buy a house, so I never have a landlord again, right? So we try to do things, spend every day of our life just to make sure we don't get the things we don't like and we get the things we like. This becomes the whole story of our life. But everyone who has lived in this world knows that it is impossible to match the world to what you have inside. You have said certain things. I like this food. I like that kind of movie. I like this kind of behavior. I don't like that kind of person. I like this kind of sheikh. I don't like that kind of landlord. I don't like that kind of boss, right? So all of these things which you chose, and the only reason you chose this is not that your true self was like this. It's not that my authentic self only loves this food. No, it all has to do with your past experiences. Every single one of it, right? Maybe as a child they gave you a certain food more, and now you just love that. So life would only be good if you have more of that kind of food, right? So it's not even you who wants this. It's your past experiences. So you try to design the world around you, your life, everything. The universe has to match the preferences I have inside, which are the result of my past experiences. If I was in a different family, a different kind of life, I would have different experiences. So then I would expect the world to be in a different way. Right? For example, even something like the rain, which has nothing to do with us, imagine the poor cloud. It says, for example, if it rains in a day that we don't want it to rain, we get so offended. Why is it raining? And then beautiful cloud up there, the poor cloud is like, I swear to God, I'm not doing this to offend you. This has nothing to do with you. I'm just a cloud. I do this. I make it rain sometimes. And it wasn't even me. First there was this water in the sea, it evaporated, went up, this is how I formed, and rain is coming. But because you don't like rain today, you're like, no, it shouldn't rain. So you want to change the world so that it matches what you like or what you don't like. And it will never work. And that's why we'll never be happy as long as we try to change the world so that we get the things we want and we don't get the things we don't want. We'll never be happy because the universe is not going to dance with what we want to do. The universe is way bigger than us. Right? There are so many people. If universe wanted to be like exactly like what you want, there would have to be so many universes for every single person. And believe me, even if it was like that, you still wouldn't be happy. Because it's not actually you who wants this thing. It's your past experiences. It's not you. Right? All it took, for example, for you not to like this is if you had a different experience. Or sometimes if you have an experience later on in life. There are so many people I know, before marriage, they had certain kind of lifestyle in their own family. So they expected life to be a certain way. After marriage, they experienced another lifestyle. They changed. Their preferences changed. So your preferences you have right now are not yours. They're basically your past experiences. They can change. One more experience and it changed. So how many things were there which you thought they're bad, and then with another experience you realize, oh, it was good, right? So something as shallow as that, one experience can change it, and we want the whole world to be like them. Right? This is the whole reason why we suffer. Because instead of trying to go inside and see, why is it that I want the world to be like this? Why is it that I like this? Why is it that I don't like that? Instead of trying to go inside and fix myself, right? We try to change the world. And then the interesting part of it is this, that, there's this beautiful poetry that there is a place beyond good and bad. I will meet you there, right? There is a place beyond good and bad. I will meet you there. You know how I said sometimes, there are lines in the Qur'an, in the Hadith, in the poetry, etc., which are so deep, you need to think about them. Imagine if you had heard this line before this talk. There is a place beyond good and bad. I will meet you there. Like, what does it mean? Now I'll tell you. What it means is this. Right now, we're living in a state in which all we try to do is get the things we like, the good things, and avoid the things which we don't like, bad things, towards suffering, because it's impossible to match the world like that. Even sometimes when we get it, we realize, oh my God, it's not that good, because it wasn't deep. It's not the wants of your true self. It's not what you want. It's what your past experiences left the mark, right? So when you stop this look, when you go inside, right? I don't need to change the world. For example, if someone says, if these 3 things happen, I like these 3 things. Like I like, for example, to see my friend. I like it to rain, when I like it this. So I have 3 things I like because of my past experiences. And if these 3 things happen today, I would be happy, right? So imagine how much you've limited the chance of your happiness. Now imagine if you start liking a 4th thing, or a 5th thing, or a 6th thing. That means the chances of you being happy that they just increased 100%, right? All you need to do to be happier is like more things and dislike less things. But how can you do that, right? The way to do that is to go inside and ask myself, what happened to me? Why did I start liking this thing? Oh, it was my past experiences. Hope if I change my experiences, if I learn to like more things, then I'll be happier, because the chances of those things happening are more. So now, instead of changing the outside world, I try to change the world inside, right? I try to change myself. I heal myself. Now, the beautiful point of it is this. When you go inside, when you try to heal, for example, if I have an insecurity which makes me not like certain things, you're like, okay, let me heal this. Let me get rid of this. And you manage to do this, right? The first steps are so easy. Slowly you can handle it, so many things. Maybe before that you needed to eat certain food, you needed to eat certain amount. Slowly you heal that. You realize, oh my God, I don't need to have that kind of food to be happy. I will have it, there's no problem, have it. But I don't need it. My happiness doesn't depend on it. You heal yourself. You slowly learn that even if someone, runs in front of you in traffic and goes slow and is annoying, you learn to not dislike that. You can learn that. You can heal yourself. You go to that place where it dislikes, saying like, why should I dislike this? It's happening anyway. It has nothing to do with me. This person who came in front of me, he just wants to get somewhere faster. He didn't do this to piss me off. Even if he did that, why should I let that get rid of my energy? Why? So you learn not to dislike that. And you're like, wow, I can be happy. So these things you can do. Slowly you learn them. It's beautiful and it's simple. Slowly. It takes time. It may take 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, but the more you work on yourself, you don't want to change the world, you want to change inside. You do that and you heal. But the problem is, then you get to certain levels, certain preferences which are so deeply rooted. They've been there for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and then they become so hard to let go, right? So you reach this level where the battlefield is inside, and you've passed the first levels. The first few levels were easy. Not getting angry in traffic, not needing a certain type of food, not needing a certain type of clothes to be happy. Not that you don't wear it. Wear it as much as you want. Eat any food you like, but just don't be dependent on it. And you can. Easy. Not get angry. Easy. You go deeper. You reach certain preferences which are so difficult to handle on your own. Right? So difficult. And then you reach this level where you need help. Because there is part of you who wants to feel okay, who doesn't want his or her experience of life to be dependent on certain things to happen outside. There is this part of you, but there's also another part which is not as deep as this. This is the true self, the one who doesn't want to be dependent on anything. But there's another part, a shallower part, the one which is the result of experiences and patterns, or deeply rooted patterns which have been there for so long. And then their fight starts between these two. Certain preferences which are so difficult to let go, right? And then at that point, you reach, for example, this level Imam Sajjad says in Munajat 15, Ilahi inni ashku ilayka nafsan bisu'i ammara. Oh God, I'm coming to you for help with this part of me, this shallower part of me that doesn't let go. doesn't let go of its preferences, right? What is Ammara? Ammara is like, you know what, I have to get this. Even though this part says we don't want to be doing this, no, I have to. So you reach this level where the battle becomes so difficult, right? Now with certain things it's easy. Like I said, with not getting angry in traffic, it may take time, it may take 1 year, 2 years, but you can do it on your own. You can, right? All you need to do, I've spoken before about this, right? If you have to be there, be there. For example, anger, you feel it starting at the root of it. The first moment you feel that anger, it's coming up, and sometimes when anger comes, it takes the wheel away from us. It throws us out of the seat, out of the car. It takes control. Have you noticed someone, when a person is angry, you try to talk to them, reason with them, you're like, no, it's impossible. That person is not there. Like when Jawad's angry, Jawad's no longer there. This is anger. We can't reason with him. So what happens is that usually we let go of the control when anger comes, or a different urge comes, or someone comes in traffic in front of us, we become angry, we let go of the wheel. But then you slowly learn to always be there. Even when anger comes, you don't need to give the wheel to it. And the time you do this is at the first second, when it's at the root of it. In the root, it's not that strong yet. When, for example, a person came in front of you in traffic, you feel like you're getting angry. At that very moment, you try to lean away from anger. And if you do it at the root, you can do it. But if you let anger take over a few seconds, then it will be it would be all anger from that point onwards, right? It's like they say, for example, imagine you're driving and the road suddenly becomes so, there's a slope. If you don't hold on to the steering wheel tight, and imagine it's going like this zigzag. If you don't hold to the steering wheel tight, the car may take you to a direction based on the slope, if the road is slippery, the car will take you. But you hold onto the steering wheel very tight. You're like, I'm in charge here. I am in charge of this self, not my anger. And you can only do this the first second. If the road is slippery, you don't hold onto the wheel tight, the road will take you somewhere, or like anger will take you. But at the root of it, if you hold onto the wheel tight, anger can't take you anywhere. And some scientific researchers show that anger on its own usually lasts between minute and a half. A minute and a half. The reason for us it takes 10 minutes, 20 minutes, because we let go of the wheel. We start thinking, oh my God, this person did this to me. We fan the flame. So an anger, which could have gone in a minute and a half, only required to just hold onto the wheel tight. But because we don't do this, we can actually help it. We fan the flame. So an anger, which could have gone a minute and a half, becomes 10 minutes, 20 minutes, etc. So certain things like this are easy. Just lean away from it. It does take practice. It does take time, but you can do it, right? You lean away. But then a time comes where you want to lean away, but it's so difficult. It's so difficult. In other words, this urge is so strong, is so deep. You try to get the wheel, but you can't. Now, this is where we need God. Of course, even before that, we need it, but this is where without God, it's impossible to heal. Literally impossible. We have this phrase that فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ, seek refuge in God. See, another time in which we're dealing with the beautiful teaching in the Qur'an in the shallowest level. Did the Qur'an say that every time say أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, I seek refuge with God? Did it tell us to say it, أعوذ بالله, and think we've done it? Because that's what we do. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. We say it. Is it that? Or is isti'adah, the seeking refuge with God, an activity? It's an action. It's not something you say. Even if you say it, it's to help you to create it. Right? So when God says, seek refuge with me, it's an action takes place in the heart. At that moment where you want to lean away from that urge, you try to, what do? You lean away from that and you lean towards God. Leaning towards God. That's isti'adah. That's I seek refuge with God. It happens inside you at the core of the struggle, in the battle between good and bad inside you. And of course, you are the good. The bad is just shallow past experiences because your core is beautiful. There's nothing wrong with your core. There's nothing wrong with yourself. It's just certain patterns have come on top of it. So what you do is your true self in the battle with these patterns leans away from them, from these urges, and leans towards its source, which is God. Leans towards its source. This is isti'adha, to seek refuge. But this can only happen if we have found God in our heart, so we know which direction to go, right? Because if I tell you right now, lean towards God, what does that mean, right? We still haven't learned the geography of our nafs. We don't know that our nafs is like a space. You can lean towards certain things, you can lean away from them, you can lean towards God. How do I do this? Well, as long as you think the connection with God, relationship with God is only to get the sawab or not get punished, you don't care about these. Because even if you don't learn any of this, you pray, it's okay, your job is done. But when you know, no, God is beautiful, God makes you feel good, you need God for healing, you need God to feel good, great. God is beautiful, God is so beautiful, you just want to be with Him. Even if it wasn't wajib, even if it wasn't haram, you just want to be there. The more you look at it this way, the more you care about it, you pay attention to it. You go inside and you learn. Oh my God. Well, inshallah, maybe later on we can talk because my time is running out, right? And of course, we're going to have a better section. Inshallah, Dr. Haydarpur will enlighten us with beautiful, beautiful. I'm so excited for that. Anything I've learned about love, I've learned it from Dr. Haydarpur. Anything. True, beautiful soul. So, but inshallah, I'll just quickly finish my talk. So when we say isti'adha, is when you lean away from that urge, lean towards God. And this requires a certain level of understanding what happens inside. A certain level of knowing how does one, how can you work with your heart? I don't know if you've done martial arts or not. Sometimes in martial arts, they're like, if you want to throw this punch, do it with that muscle. And then a beginner would be like, how do I contact with that muscle? Like, how can I tell that muscle to move? There are certain muscles in our body that because we haven't, directly thrown our will towards them, like I haven't willed it, I don't know how exactly to tell that muscle to move. So one of the main problems, for example, in the type of martial arts I did, was for the teacher to tell us, how can you communicate with that muscle so you make the move from there? Like if you want to throw a punch, you make that muscle move. It would take us so long, but slowly, the more you throw your attention to these muscles, for example, in your arm, the more you pay attention to them, the more you sit with them, you realize, I have to do it this way. You learn how to communicate with that muscle, from your will to that muscle. The same is with our heart. We have to throw the flashlight of our attention inside and learn, how can I move my heart that way? How can I turn my heart towards God? How can I turn my heart away from anger? And it's so easy and so beautiful and so precious. You can learn it, and inshallah, maybe in the later on we'll talk about it. Just the last point. So what happens is that you do this. You seek refuge with God. And the last thing, you know how I said there are preferences, good and bad, that we try to design our life based on them to feel okay, get the things you like and not get the things you dislike. These were the source of suffering. So I said, if you don't want that, if you want to feel okay, go inside. Instead of changing the world, go inside. Well, the last preference that we need to get rid of is this idea that I have to be okay. It's very beautiful. So the last stage where a paradigm shift happens is that you've gone so deep inside, you've connected the beauty of God, the joy of God, this unconditional love and beauty that comes from God. Imagine, I don't know, when was the best day of your life? Imagine that best day. Now, 1,000 times nicer than that, 1,000,000 times nicer than that. So you reach a level where you feel that, and at that point, you don't care to feel okay. You don't care about yourself anymore. At that level, all you want is to just dissolve into this beautiful reality. All you want is to just let go. So before you were trying to let go of your preferences, at this level, you see something so beautiful. You're like, I don't even care about myself. I want to dissolve into this. I want to be connected to this source of beauty. And this is, they say, the level that a person cannot do on their own. Allama Tabatabai, for example, in one of his Rasail, he says that this last level, you can only do it with God's help alone, because you're trying to go beyond yourself. So first, we went beyond our past experiences, beyond our preferences, all of these things that were making life so difficult for us, so much tight, so much suffering. We went beyond them. We found our true self, and it was beautiful, full of God's connection. We felt great, like that companion of Imam Ali who felt so great, just peace was coming out. But you reach there and you're like, oh my God, there's even a level higher, you know? And you see God's beauty, and you're like, I said, I don't care about myself anymore. I don't want to feel okay anymore. All I want is to just be here. You just connect to God, dissolve here. And that's the level where they say, beyond good and evil, there's a place, I will meet you there. Beyond good and beyond evil, there's a place, I'll see you there. And what did Imam Ali say? I don't worship God, fear of hell, and I don't worship God, greed of heaven. I worship God because God is worthy. It's that level. And so, on that note, I finish my talk. Please stay with us. Dr. Haydarpur is going to come. She's the person I learned everything from. Dr. Haydarpur is going to come and talk to us about God's love. So I will end this live session, immediately start another one. Don't go anywhere, and inshallah together we can sit and enjoy. Thank you so much. So I'll end this live session, immediately start another one. Don't go anywhere. We're going to benefit from Dr. Haydarpur.